Oh, It's football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas. And that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions.
Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Yeah! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
It's time for the old time happy hour. So pick up your step and smile a while. Time to sing along with friends of ours.
Hey there, buddy. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. This is like our first regular or non-football, and usually, we have something to lead into, Well, in 2024, it was basically, and the Cowboys suck once again. And, we'd have fun with the, oh, wait, where'd that go? We'd have fun with that. And then, we'd talk about how awesome I am.
I am the champ.
But now it's the off season. In fact, this is technically the first official off season. We did do one a couple weeks after the Super Bowl. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, bienvenue. I am Terry, the host. That is intern Noe, the pro. Oh, you just went straight up now, Noe, the commissioner. Wow. Okay. Not bad. We watched a lot of mob movies, so I'm going to be making stupid references tonight. But what we do is we talk a little football. We are based in Dallas, but we also talk other sports as well, especially when it's in the off season. We're going to be kind of talking a little bit about that tonight. There's a couple things that we're doing going forward. Partly will be done on these shows. One of them being the Texas Two-Seam Baseball Show. That's going to be a weekly show. Sometimes it'll be weekly in part of this. Like if it's something you want to talk about or, a really big something, no-hitter or something like that, we'll just put it on the happy hour. And we're going to be doing some bad movies and a drink. We're going to make it sports themed, and you're going to be able to tell I'm going to be wearing sports movie shirts. I got this one. This is Happy Gilmore for the rest of the off season. Oh, dude, I just have a question for you. This is one. We'll explain all the genres, but does Point Break count as a sports movie?
Oh, Johnny Utah. No, I wouldn't consider it a sports movie. It's just because, so it's Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze. God rest his soul. It's a surfer movie and a bank robbery movie. It's kind of like drama, action, but it's really not sports. There is sports played. I wouldn't technically consider it sports.
Surfing is considered, I don't know if you call it a sport, but it's athletic. And this is almost like the Bruce or the Die Hard Christmas movie talk. Johnny Utah is a former Division I quarterback. Utah.
Pause. You're right. It's surfing. Karch Karai. Surfing. That you're right. It is a sports movie. We can include it in there. We have to watch it now.
Again, because we already did a bad movies and a drink on it,
but not the remake.
That I'll put it this way: I will watch the new Roadhouse before I watch the remake. The new Roadhouse.
Again?
Yeah, a few times. The new Roadhouse is not great, but there are parts of it. Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, gives a wonderful. I think some of the comedic timing, the issues that you and I had were just a lot of plots just kind of never go anywhere. And I know that the idea is they think they're going to have a sequel, but like you've got the dude's dad who's actually a dirty sheriff and all. Whereas anyway, but the redo or the updating of Point Break was a lot like Total Recalls. It was too damn boring. It took itself too serious. What made Point Break fun in the 90s and what made Total Recall fun in the 80s was those movies knew what they were. And the actors knew what they were doing in it and they were having fun in it. And the new Point Break, oh my God, dude. I think that should be used for couples counseling. You get to choose. You can stay married or you have to watch for 48 hours nothing but the Point Break. That was 2015. The Point Break movie for 24 hours straight. You could do that or you stay married. I guarantee you divorce rates would plummet.
Oh, I 100% agree. I couldn't even finish the movie. That's one of the few movies I can really not finish. So yeah, I agree with you, man.
We're having some weird things going on.
Well, the DFW Metroplex had a weird weather storm today. So I lost power up until about 12 or 1. The fate of this show for tonight was, undecided. I didn't tell you that, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, you didn't tell me, but I get a big Zelle request, pay electric, please. And I'm like, son of a, okay. No.
Yes. It's funny. Anything west from the tollway.
Yeah.
And east of 35 was kind of just messed up. And I kind of live around that area. So it was crazy. Like I lost power mid shave this morning. And
that's the worst, dude. Was you shaving the head?
Well, I shave my head with a razor, but my face, I have an electric razor for my face, and man, it was just crazy. Like I couldn't even. I was mid shave. Power finally went out, so I had to use my phone, and I was like 60%. So I wasn't sure how long it was gonna. I'm not sure how long the power was gonna be out for, and so I finished my shave, but I wanted to conserve my battery power, so I was like, okay, let me hang out around here until it's sunlight, and then go into the office. Man, so I didn't get power until 12 or 1, and then everywhere around me there were just tree limbs everywhere. The lights were out by where I live, and but like where I work at 5 miles away, it was fine.
Yeah, I'm usually the one because I live off of a lake. If it sneezes, I lose power. I lost nothing.
You want to have the role reversal because like I told you on another happy hour, I live by fire station and I live by a hospital. So the chances of me losing power for a long period of time are very small.
Yes.
And then you just over here just on the internet, just having fun. I'm over here just trying to figure out life.
Isn't that how it feels, man, when you lose your power? Okay, so a couple notes. Again, you can't always help it. I don't always. I always try to remember to have my phone charging when I go to bed. The other thing is, and now this is a little bit different for me because I know you have one, but I have one, and then I have like 2 or 3 laptops that don't really do much for me anymore, but they all work. And so I always have them all fully charged. And then if I lose my power and I need to use my phone, I can suck the electricity off of those. And especially now I have a Samsung 24, so it's that quick charge. If it's C to C, and I have C to C, one laptop can charge my whole phone for an hour, and then I just do what I need to do. A lot of Pornhub and all that kind of stuff. And then but man, 30 minutes in without power is like, I'm gonna have to go eat somebody here soon, aren't I? Like this is it. The world's over.
It's just so crazy how much we rely on technology nowadays. I'm actually charging my 6-year-old tablet right now. It's on its last legs, but it gets the job done for me, especially like when I come in the studio and we do a bunch of shows back to back.
I have a tablet that's about that old too, and that's kind of I actually use it for I'll take it on the road with Greg. So I don't really need a laptop. I'll take it that just because Grant wants to watch true crime stuff in the hotel room. I want to put earbuds in and fall asleep to YouTube or something. But if I need anything other than going to YouTube, I swear I got to turn it with a churn to get it going. It's like hand powered. Oh, by the way, This is Outdrank the Coverage, where we do talk sports, and because it's Outdrank the Coverage, we do have some drinks. Intern Noe, the commissioner, now that you've got the power back, how are you doing, and what are you drinking?
I'm doing well. I'm drinking that Ethiopian honey wine. I still had some more
That
left.
shit is good, folks. I'm telling you right now. I ain't gonna lie. When you said it, and I was doing the "I love you, buddy," but I am not trying that today. And then I got toasty enough, and I tried it, and I was like, "Wow, like this." It's a refreshing, and I don't know, like I don't know, is it got wine amount of alcohol or is it more? I don't remember at that point.
It increases the longer you let
Ferment
it.
it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had a bunch, and I just kind of just slowly worked, chipped away at it. And this is probably my last bit. I have about 12 ounces left. I'll probably save it for another week or two. It's because I don't really drink it much at all throughout the year, so I like to savor it when I can.
No, I got
But
you.
yeah, so I'm just sipping on that tonight. How about you, man? How are you doing? What are you drinking?
I am doing well. Again, it's so funny you were saying that. I wake up about 5 every morning, and that's right when the storm was coming through. And I was thinking, I'm gonna have to tell Noah we might not get to do a show. And it's so funny how it was reversed like that. And I was in studio wife. She's over helping her mom on show nights, and so she was working over there today. And she, I was like, every 5 minutes, she's like, "You have power?" I'm like, "I know, right? I still do." This is kind of shocking, but other than that, I'm doing great. Really excited. You're going to be in studio for our first off-season stuff here almost in a month. It's going to be the 29th. But the cool thing about that is we start rolling out our reels. And I wanted to talk about that early when I remembered. So what we're going to be doing this year, we're going to be having another live draft show for the first night. And I will say this. There is a chance we might do some live non-studio stuff for round 2, possibly, maybe. We're going to sure have a happy hour that Monday, whether it's planned or not, on the every other, so we can kind of grade. I don't like really grading the draft in that moment, but talk about the draft. But we're also going to be doing reels where we're going to kind of pick 35 players, people we think will be in the first round, and just do a Facebook reel, TikTok daily profile of this next person, Ashton Janty, Boise State, that kind of stuff, have some highlights and stuff. And so we're really excited about doing that. You and I have been kind of talking about it, but we're changing a lot of the show structures and stuff that we've been doing over the last couple of years. And it's going to allow for more of that kind of stuff and more creativity. So I'm doing good. I'm excited. I'm also tonight just drinking some good old Taka, and we do these as a joke, but for the Super Bowl, we ended up getting this 99 proof peanut butter whiskey, and damn it, if it ain't good, get a couple airplane bottles, put you a few cubes of ice, and it's a real good sipping whiskey, and it's 99 proof.
And at some point, I'm going to get you to do some pairing, because we were talking about it before the show, but peanut butter 99, I really think it would pair well with just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or just peanut butter in general, because it kind of. So what I was trying to explain to you is, if you pair it with something, the drink kind of enhances the food, and the food kind of enhances the drink. So I know your routine. I've known you for about 15 years now, so it's one of those where I got to slowly introduce it to you, and then maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to get at.
No, and I totally get it. So my relationship with alcohol has always just been, I drink
dysfunctional.
Huh? Yeah, dysfunctional. Yeah, there was some dark periods there. But now it's more of I don't really like the taste of a lot of alcohol. The whole reason I settled on vodka is it's the cleanest, and it's the one I do Gator Tail, or at this point I just chase it. Sometimes I still mix it. It kind of gets rid of it. So I've never done the sophisticated thing, but I'm excited to try. I'm me, I'm not against anything that involves food and liquor. Just normally I like to do the liquor. I like to do the drink. Catch myself there. I like to do the drink. And then, as you know, one of mine and Studio Wife's favorite things to do is either get, we call it Friday Drunk McDonald's, or Friday Drunk Chili's, where we go get the Chili's before we start drinking. And then you have to get things like a steak so you can warm it up. And anyway, and so I've got to get used to the idea of eating while drinking. But I want to try. I definitely want to try.
Hey, speaking of which, if you ever want to do steak the next day, just take it out of the fridge and let it sit outside for 2 or 3 hours. I promise you, you won't have to. So my problem with steak is I never want to heat it up too much because it's going to keep cooking. And I want to keep it at what I want, like medium rare or medium, whatever. So to do that, just as a pro tip, take your steak. And I know sometimes you like to do steak sandwiches, so this might not apply to you, but just take your steak, keep it outside. Like say you eat lunch at 12. Yeah. Take it out at 9 in the morning. Just let it sit there until then. It's going to get to the temperature you want, and you're going to enjoy it. It'll taste and feel like almost like it was the day before. So and maybe if you want to do like a 20-second microwave, that's fine. It won't cook it too much because some people like to keep it hot. I get that. Or just do like a compound butter in the microwave. Like a little cup, butter, garlic, salt, microwave 20 seconds. It's melted. Just lather it over the steak and you're good to go.
I agree with every one of that. What I do is just a little bit different. And normally my second, if I have a steak, I always tend to get a steak bigger than I want, slice it in half. I have a sandwich, steak sandwich. Steak sandwich and meatball sandwiches are my two favorite sandwiches, but you also have to eat them in moderation or they get tired. Well, hey, you got cholesterol of 4,000 and you also get tired of them. I do everything you do except for I set it out 10 minutes before, and then I take a fork. Now, I have gas. And I don't mean like gas. I mean, like I have a gas heater or gas stove. I turn it on with that open flyer, and I just literally go like that one time through, stick it on there, take the cheese one time through as it starts to get gooey, and then slap it on that bread, and then bring it all together. Okay. Chili's, so please sponsor us, or if you're in the Rowlett area and listening to the show, if you will send me some Chili's, I will give you my address. I might even make out with you a little bit. That's basically how I got married. She likes Chili's. I like Chili's.
I hope Studio Wife didn't hear that part, but she probably would be okay with it because, like you said, she loves Chili's, and I like to give y'all for y'all's birthdays. I like to give y'all Chili's gift cards. If I remember to do it. So that's one of those things where, just do that. And hey, we should have them as a sponsor, but I don't know, maybe. We should have 99 Proof as a sponsor too.
Yes, we definitely should. We should have every liquor source that we use. I will say this, all jokes aside, Chili's has actually become a respectable damn restaurant. Them and Applebee's, man, and TGI Fridays to an extent, but really them and Applebee's in the late 90s, early 2000s, they capture, and Bennigan's before Bennigan's went to die.
One of the best chicken tenders I've ever had, Bennigan's.
Bennigan's had the best potato skins. I legitimately love going there for their shepherd's pie, even though it wasn't real shepherd's pie because it was hamburger meat.
No. You know who has the best potato skins? Studio Wife.
Oh yeah, she does. She does now. Yeah, it'd been really weird.
Do you remember that? Oh yeah. When you were over the last time, she made them with the turkey pepperoni. I think the season finale this year.
Yeah, season finale. Yeah, in fact, that's in the regular rotation now for just we like to do snacks and stuff on Saturdays. Yep. Usually we're taking the day off from drinking and working in the forest, getting all the weeds and everything, and so we like to snack all day. Like we're real big into charcuteries right now. Like she's gonna go Friday and just pick up a bunch, and we're just gonna chow down on that. But yeah, I don't even know where we're going with that. Oh, Chili's. So, but Applebee's used to have really good potato skins. Applebee's, Bennigan's, Chili's, TGI Friday, they all kind of captured that fast casual, and went for 20 years. And then about 10 years ago, Chili's and TGI Fridays is now dead. Bennigan's had died away. I think there's 2 left in the country. One of them's in a small town in West Texas, oddly enough. But they had all kind of went to crap. And then Chili's just kind of quietly changed some things. And now Applebee's is still crap. I won't go into an Applebee's. But Chili's legitimately now, dude, it's got some really good food. Like, even co-host Grant Goodwin, whose
birthday is Sunday, so happy early birthday to
happy early birthday, Grant. Your birthday's coming up too. But
2 weeks from today, yeah.
With Grant, if he tells us, hey, y'all should eat this, we'll try it. He knows what he's talking about. He has a really good palate. And so 2 years ago, right when Chili's was this resurgent, me and him were on the road, and it was funny because we were just like, well, always do like, hey, what'd y'all do Thursday? Oh, we drank and we ate. Oh, what'd you eat? And he goes, I don't remember. I'm like, okay. And he goes, what'd y'all do? I'm like, oh, we didn't drink, but we partaked, and we ate. Well, what'd you eat? Chili's. And he goes, you ate Chili's? I'm like, yeah. He goes, so did I. Oh my God, it's so amazing. and so Chili's, yeah, we need to get them to sponsor us. Every show we get a 3-for-1 dip or something. So again, as you can tell, we're kind of rambling tonight. This show is a little bit different than how we normally do it. Wait.
Toast to the life and times of Gene Hackman.
Oh yes, thank you so much. We will talk about that here in a little bit. Gene Hackman passed away. Really weird circumstance. Oh wow, we both have cowboy cups. I wonder why. Passed away. He'll be talked about now, but he'll definitely be talked about during the sports because he has 2 sports movies that I think are going to be. Well, we know one of them will be talked about and probably will win that genre's top 5. But the other one I think is very underrated too, even though it's weirdly put together with who he's supposed to be and all that. But so what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk just sports, pop culture,
cheers.
Whatever. Oh, cheers. Yeah, we've read cheers. Sports, pop culture, and all that. Dallas centric, but we will talk everything else. But before we do all that, hang on. Now we have a new sponsor. Well, I mean, they're new-ish, and that's Suck What. And
Suck what?
What? We're gonna have to figure out a good old Abbott and Costello with that one because that just writes itself. Unfortunately, we're the writers, so we might need some AI help or something. Oh, I didn't mean to take that off. So we got this new sponsor, Suck What, and Suck What's basically all about that crawfish culture, which is perfect for the show. You know, my love of Louisiana food, and you love New Orleans. And again, Grant will be doing this big.
Hey, you and the studio wife are making a yearly trip now, right?
Yes, my birthday week, we go down there. This will be the second time we've gone for that. It'll be the third time in the 4 years we've known each other. And Suck What is bringing that crawfish culture and that Louisiana style to you. All you have to do is go online, suckwhat.com. They have apparel, they have accessories. Anything about the Cajun life and the Cajun spice, they've got it. Suckwhat.com. 30% off of every $50 you spend. Just use the code SUCK30. But the reason I love this lady and the reason that I think she's awesome is we get to have a segment every week or every time we do a show called
It's time for the Suck What. What sucks? Well, this sucks. That sucks. Oh, the week.
Suck what?
And it is the Suck What of the Week, and this is where we talk about the bad, the sad, the mad of sports. And sometimes it's sucking because a player is terrible. Sometimes it's more of just the situation. And as you can see on the screen, Kyrie Irving, I never thought I would say, A, I hope he finishes as a lifetime Maverick. But B, he tore his ACL. He's out for the year. At this point, it doesn't even matter about Luka this year. And I know all the hate for Nico, and I get it. You and I have talked about the trade. I'm not as opposed to the trade, but still, with everything that's happened, this is just crappy right here.
I mean, what's crappy is the fact that his mustache makes him look like he's 37 instead of 32. But the other thing is, all seriousness.
Oh, you're right. He looks like AC Green without the Jerry curl.
And without the virginity.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
Now, so honestly, it sucks. He started to kind of find a home in Dallas. It seemed like he was going to probably finish out his career in Dallas. Still might be the case.
I think he is. I think everybody's assuming, and I get it because of the Luka trade and all, but he said many times, yeah, it sucks. This is a guy that I had gotten really close with and all that. But at this point in my career, I'm happy where I'm at, and I still feel like when healthy, which is odd now because of him being hurt, but when healthy, and this is true, if they can stay healthy in this 3-year window, Dallas has a better chance to win a title now than they did before the trade, but it's only for that 3-year window. After that, we don't know.
Yeah, and also pictured on the left is Max Christie, who's played wonderfully since he's come to Dallas, and I like his prospect going forward. Kyrie, when no one thought the Mavericks would make it to the finals or win a championship this year after that Luka trade. It's fine. Let's just keep building. I'm a Mavericks fan. I like the Mavericks, but having said that, like let Kyrie. He's on the wrong side of 30. He needs to just get healthy. He's going to have to keep carrying this team. At this point, I'm not sure how much longer he can be the primary option for this team. Going into this season, I really loved Luka, Kyrie, and Clay. Clay being a third option was deadly. But
and he has been as advertised.
He's been as advertised. He's been more of like he might actually be better as like a Peja Stojakovic, 2011 Mavericks, where he just comes off the bench, shoots a couple of threes. I'm okay with him still being on the team, though. So I really want him to finish out his contract. He has 3 years. So 2 years after this year. Let Kyrie come back. Don't rush him back. Obviously.
Oh, no.
They have enough young talent to just let him sit. It's late in the season. He's probably going to not start next season in November, December. We might see him 1 year from now, and that's fine. Just keep building, keep adding young talent. I was actually one of the few that actually loved the trade for Luka to the Lakers. Once Anthony Davis gets back, and hopefully he stays healthy consistently, I really think this is going to be a really solid Mavericks team. I hate seeing Luka go, and like I said, again, I hate seeing Luka go. But to be honest with you, I just couldn't rely on him to be there consistently. I don't think he had that Mamba mentality that Kobe Bryant had and Michael Jordan had. And I can't fathom the Mavericks giving him $350 million roughly for 5 years and then not being able to rely on him to be there 70 plus games a year.
Yeah. And again, it depends on a bunch of what ifs, and again, we've already seen them blowing up the first year. Because I contend that if everybody would have stayed healthy, that the Mavs. I mean, everybody was even as everybody was giving the Mavs, oh, it's an F or worst trade ever. They were all still saying, but when Anthony Davis gets healthy, it'll be interesting to see what this team is like this year in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to see that at this point. I don't remember if they have any protected picks they have to give up. I would rather them just go ahead and shut her down. Just go ahead and shut her down and get a top, maybe swing for the fences and you pull a lottery out your butt and you got Cooper Flagg replacing Luka. And I think everybody would be like, oh, that's fine. We'll do that. Oh, darn.
Yeah, because Cooper Flagg is going to be the number one. Yeah, Cooper Flagg, for those that don't know or who have been living under a rock, well, in a couple of weeks, the NCAA men's basketball tournament is going to start, and everybody will know who Cooper Flagg is. But right now, the number 2 Duke Blue Devils have this freshman phenom from, I think, up in Maine or Vermont. I can't remember where he's from, but he's up there, like further north. He's going to be a one-and-done guy for Duke. He's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He is all that in a bag of potato chips. Whoever gets the number 1 pick next season is going to probably be a fringe playoff team. Just because of him. He is that good. I've watched a lot of his highlights this season. I don't really watch a lot of men's or college basketball until the tournament comes, but I do follow it. Auburn's doing really well. I think Bruce Pearl's the head coach. He's a fantastic head coach. It's just kind of weird now in college basketball on the men's side, especially with the SEC really dominating, because a few years prior it was just Kentucky. But now, Calipari went to Arkansas. Kentucky's still good, but like Florida's really good. Auburn, Alabama has been a basketball power the last few years. So it's just a little bit of a shift right now in college basketball, but it's fine.
Bama's been weird because they were great. They should, everybody had them like, oh, could go down as one of the best teams since UNLV and Duke in the 90s, Kentucky in the early 2000s, and then they didn't win a championship. And then they kind of, they didn't really go down, but for them, they went down. Like I think 2 years ago or a year ago, they were like, 18 or 20 and 9 or 16 or something like that. And now, boom, they're back up. Luke, everybody wants to talk about the SEC when it comes to football, and that's, of course, sure. But let's talk about where they are when it comes to baseball, when it comes to basketball, men's and women. You've got number one Texas, who I still don't even think anybody would even call the favorite to win. It still feels like it's South Carolina's. Their depth's an issue, and they're starting like three new ladies. But they've played long enough now that they're not freshmen anymore, and so basketball, man, in the SEC is fun, and it's different than what it used to be. I grew up watching it because living on the Louisiana-Texas border, I got LSU and Dale Brown. I got Wimp Sanderson in Alabama. I got all those Saturday games that were like 38-36. And it was just like, former linebacker is now playing point guard. And he tackled him. It was physical, man, very physical.
So I started watching all that, obviously, 93, like I tell you. That was the first year I started watching all the sports. The thing that grabbed me about college basketball on the men's side was Temple versus UMass.
Oh, I love that era.
The guy I just mentioned, John Calipari, he got his name recognition, his fame from being the UMass coach, the Massachusetts Minutemen. They were so good back in the early to mid-90s. And I think the 96 team with Marcus Camby made it to the Final Four.
That's another team that everybody kind of thought was going to win the national title that year, and they just couldn't. It's hard. It's hard in every sport, but especially when you get into that tournament, man.
And I agree. And then Temple, they had John Chaney, who was – I kind of liked the style because it could consistently keep you in games, but it was very defensive forward, keep the ball and I think it was 36-second shot clock. I can't remember, but basically the point guard would hold the ball basically until about 4 seconds left, and he would make a decision by that point. So all the Temple Owl games were 51-46. Mm-hmm. If a team scored 60 points, John Chaney did something wrong, and but John Chaney and John Calipari hated each other. They would have literally physical and verbal fights publicly on TV.
I think they made up years later, though.
They had to. It was great TV, and it was great for recruiting because a lot of players I want to play for that guy, depending on which side you go. Temple and UMass were so good for that period of time. So for me, watching that, drove me into watching college basketball for a while, and then. The thing I liked about college basketball back in the day, you had Allen Iverson, you had Vince Carter, you had these studs that stayed more than 1 year. Nowadays, you have a mid guy with a lot of potential just being one and done, and they never do anything in the NBA.
I think Neil will change a little bit of that. I think Neil will keep.
It already has on the football side, but I think on the basketball side, especially, women don't really declare early for the draft, but I'm just glad a lot like the Cavinder twins. They are making multiple millions of dollars. Carson Beck, the former Georgia quarterback who's transferred to Miami, his girlfriend is one of the Cavinder twins. That's probably one of the reasons why he went there. But another reason is because they have a legitimately good program again in Miami. But yeah, it's NIL is a very good tool to keep college athletes that are actually pretty good in college for all 4 years, and maybe even longer if they're redshirt.
No, I totally agree. And again, that's why I think Neil's one of those things that will end up, I'm not pretending it's not a Wild West right now. And I get there needs to be some changes. I think I understand the need for, or the want to have the window right after the season before spring football, because that allows players who know that they don't have a chance to go somewhere enroll early enough. And because you have to be a part of that. Now, what they can make changes, again, you got to get I think one of the things that I hope with the new, what will eventually be not even called the NCAA is, look, there needs to be fair. I get being fair with a student and then what an athlete can do, but there also needs to have an understanding that that person's an exceptional person. And you're telling me that the University of Texas, if Bill Gates came to them and April, which is right in the middle of school, and said, I have got this kid who is, he's going to rewrite all the codes. He's going to change everything. You really think Texas is going to be like, okay, that's cool, but can he enroll in June when the summer school starts? We can't have him now. No, they would take him in. They need to do that for football players. That way football players can leave after the bowl season, enroll in their schools, and then try now. To be fair, though, there's a lot of colleges, and I think this is the right thing, is getting away from spring football. Now it's just becoming more like pro, where you're going to have mini camps and you're going to have, live scrimmages, but you're not making a big pomp and circumstance. Too much was made about spring games, especially when it came to young quarterbacks.
And hey, the college game is now a professional game. Now there's general managers hired by colleges. Like we heard recently about Andrew Luck at Stanford, Michael Lombardi at UNC, the former Bill Belichick guy.
Dude, what is it about him that and I like Michael Lombardi, the broadcaster. I've listened to his podcast and his multiple shows. He's really good, but he was not really a good front office guy as far as actual results. But man, Bill Belichick just loves him.
He loves him, and you can see it if you ever watch The Coach on YouTube. Yep. I actually watched it this past season. I actually kind of liked his X's and O's. Well, Belichick's not Patricia or Lombardi, but they were there. They're the Belichick guys, so wherever he goes, they're probably going to also get opportunities to coaching or front office roles. It's just the way it is.
We're gonna have to do a skit about Matt Patricia here soon. I was reading something about him, and he was talking about kind of doing the Mike McCarthy. I've spent the last 18 months breaking down every film I could. And he goes, I realized what I lost. He goes, when I was calling good defenses, there was a voice in my head and it would just tell me what to call. And I realized, oh my God, he didn't realize that was Bill Belichick, did he? Matt Patricia's like, dear God. And Bill's like, hey, shh, he thinks I'm God. Yes. What should I do? Run 3-4 invert with a Texas twist to the outside, zone coverage, backside, cover 2, tight end. Okay, God. Seriously, he said that. I've lost that voice, and every comment was like, yeah, you left Bill Belichick.
Oh man.
I feel bad for him. There's that Jared Edelman and Robert Gronk. They kind of have this. Well, it's really more Edelman, but Gronk's on there a bunch too. And they have a bunch of those former, Pats. And I even told you if you listen to Bill O'Brien in that, he seems like a really cool dude. Patricia actually seems like he just got. I think every coach that has coached under Belichick, they've tried to take that same arrogant persona, but they don't understand with Belichick, it's not arrogant. It's matter of fact. And there's a difference. You can be matter of fact. I've always told you this. I know I usually can tell real quick when I meet a new head coach, in high school, if they're going to be good or not, because they'll tell me what their season's going to do. And as long as injuries don't get crazy or anything like that, the good coaches usually almost have their season nailed down to the record. We're going to get beat in the third round. We're going to get beat by a team that'll do this. There's nothing we can do about it. And so, Patricia, I don't know. It felt like he tried to have that arrogant matter of fact, and all Bill O'Brien and all those, and it just doesn't work.
They need to just be themselves.
Yes.
That's the same issue with his Belichick's best friend, Nick Saban, and at the college level at Alabama. Most of his disciples didn't really fare well. Lane Kiffin's doing a pretty solid job right now at Ole Miss, but for the most part, most of Nick Saban's disciples have not done well at the head coaching level.
The ones that weren't officially on his staff. They were, I guess Steve Sarkisian was on his staff. I know the first year he was advisor, but I do think he was an offensive coordinator for 1 year, wasn't he?
And that was more of a rehab assignment, if I could equate it.
in all
Technically, literally and figuratively. Hey, Sarkisian is doing a great job at UT. He's adapted well to NIL. They're recruiting well. UT is consistently a top 4 team. They're about to go over the hump at some point. I think next 2025 is going to be the year they finally go over the hump. Arch Manning, there's a lot of hype going in there. Ohio State will probably be ranked number 1 just because they recruit so well. But I really think Texas is going to have a lot of star power, and they're going to be a team that's going to contend for a championship.
No, I agree. And even if they don't win it this year, I think they're going to be a team that's perennially in it. He's not only figured out the recruiting, which, even that's the thing people forget. Other than quarterback, and again, quarterback had some weird things happen in the teens. But other than quarterback, Texas was always getting top talent. They weren't getting depth in top talent. He's figured that out. He's able to balance the Mac Brown where he can talk to the donors and they like him, and because that was Tom Herman's issue. Tom Herman, look, there's no Steve Sarkisian without Tom Herman. And I want to say Charlie Strong, but Charlie Strong had lost the program. It was obvious that was just not a good fit for him at the time. But Tom Herman was doing a lot of good things. He was rebuilding that depth. But just like John Malkovich, who came before Mac Brown and kind of set the table, left Mac Brown, Ricky Williams, left Mac Brown, a good roster that just needed some fine tuning. And I think Tom Herman did that. But what Sarkisian has been able to do is he's been able to find that balance of keeping the donors happy without, he comes off genuine. Whether he is or not, I don't know. The hair bothers me. I don't get the baby hair that guys are doing now where they just put it up like that. JJ Redick, I was noticing, does that too, and it's just really, really weird. But yeah, he's done a wonderful job of finding that balance that's sometimes really hard to do.
Well, Sarkisian likes to party, so I'm pretty
not
sure.
Anymore.
Allegedly. I'm pretty sure Sarkisian.
As you know, I stopped drinking in 2016.
Yeah. Cheers. No, I just think that he has that personality where he's fun to be around. A lot of these donors, they just want to have fun. They're not trying to talk about X's and O's or business or anything. They just want to see their favorite team do well. Mm-hmm. And then they want to do it with a guy they like. And Sarkisian is a likable guy. And I think he kind of repaired his image to an extent with the help of Nick Saban. So, yeah, I really think UT is set up for a while. I think UT should probably go ahead and just keep paying Sarkisian every time his contract comes up. Like they just paid him recently, I think, to be one of the top paid head coaches in college football.
Yeah, $10 million a year. He's got if he hasn't won it by 2027, as long as he's made the playoffs each year, there's going to start to be a little bit of the Mac Brown. Can you actually win it? Can you put it together and all that? It's so.
But as long as he keeps fielding those top 10, top 15 teams, he'll still have a job. He has a job for life, and I really feel.
But I will tell you.
But think about like 2000 to 2010. Mac Brown was basically set. He only won one championship, but he went to another. But he consistently had teams that were 9-2, 10-1.
Yeah, so you admittedly you were not a Texas fan. You were not an Aggie fan, but you kind of leaned more to them. You just like the look, but you just like college football. Every year back then, Mac Brown, at least to Texas fans, was on the hot seat.
And that's just so ridiculous to me as someone that has an objective view on it. And Texas was consistently good, but what a lot of these teams want is a lot of these schools want is consistency.
They want Alabama.
You're on the cusp. You have a chance. And that's what a lot of these schools really need. They just need a chance to play in the dance. And Texas being in the Big 12, now in SEC, they're automatically going to be in the dance because voters are going to want to go for the bigger conferences. And if you do well in those conferences, you're automatically going to get an apology vote for a 1 or 2 losses. So, and especially right now with a 12-team playoff, 2 losses means nothing.
What do you think about? It came out that Texas Tech, one of their big donors, he just sold off one of his oil companies, and he's made billions off of it, like $1 billion. I think it's like $5 billion. And supposedly he's, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna T Boone Pickens Texas Tech," which T Boone Pickens was Oklahoma State contributor for 30 years. I think it's brilliant because here's why. At the end of the day, Texas Tech's path in the Big 12 will almost always be easier than any team's path in the SEC. Yes, the SEC, you will get that buffer loss or two, but in the Big 12, even as I think the Big 12 is a really solid, underrated conference, you're probably still going to always be able to win that conference and get the automatic bid, at least for now, as they have the automatic bid. Again, we're going to have the Big 10 and the Big 10, 12, 47, whatever they call them now. And the SEC have already started having these talks, folks. They are going to break off and form their own NFL-style league. They'll probably pull some teams, and Texas Tech very well could be one of those. They'll probably pull some teams from all the other conferences. But as of now, I think it's brilliant. Roll the Big 12, get your automatic bids into all the tournaments.
And that's fine. Like, I don't mind them doing just, two big conferences. I see Mario Scott's posted on our message board saying that Mac Brown was a sacrificial lamb for the boosters. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll have to ask, in what way do you mean, Mario? How is he a sacrifice? You're talking about winning the job? Because, look, the biggest mistake.
Also, while Mario responds to your question, I was just going to say, one big league. I don't know if I would approve of it as far as like watching, because I would only care about the Big 10 or Big 16 versus the SEC 16. Because I think the SEC already has 16 teams right now. So I would only probably focus on that one league. And then the other one, it would just be an afterthought to me. Kind of like how North Dakota State makes the championship almost every year in Division II. But I really don't notice it until their fans come out to Frisco and they kind of invade the DFW Metroplex and kind of ruin my evening for that weekend, essentially, while they're
actually they're really awesome people. But I actually disagree with you, man. I think once we get a true split and you've got the SEC and the Big 10, and then you have this other thing. I think that other thing will be absolutely phenomenal to watch. Are they going to go to playoffs? Are they just going to go to bowls? Are we going to go back to the old system of bowls and stuff? And then I actually am excited. So Mario says he wasn't doing bad when Texas let him go, but the boosters wanted more. Yes, but, and I was the biggest defender of Mac Brown through the 2000s and ones and the twos and the threes. I mean, I was at that Big 12 championship game in 01 where if they just beat Colorado, I really think they would have given Florida fits in that championship game. But the problem with what happened in Mac Brown was after losing to Bama the way they did, he then decided to take what I contend still at that point was the best spread quarterback in the history of spread football in Gilbert and put him under center because he saw Alabama beat them with a power game, even though, no, you got beat because your starting quarterback, who was a Heisman finalist for 2 years, hurt his elbow, and Alabama never had to. I mean, people forget Texas had Bama on the ropes. They had scored a touchdown. I think it was a touchdown or a field. I can't remember. And then Bama effed up on the kickoff, and Texas recovered it. And they're about to go in and go 2 scores. And people, this isn't 2017, 2018, 2019 Alabama. This is 2008 Alabama, who had Mark Ingram and a good running game, but Greg McElroy would not. He couldn't throw them out of a wet paper bag. If they needed him to win, they wouldn't have won.
Carroll.
Huh?
South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, South Lake Carroll. Greg McElroy. He's a good broadcaster now, by the way. But I've always contended if Colt doesn't get hurt, I legitimately think Texas wins that game. But to what Mario is saying, he wasn't doing bad, but once he did that and decided to completely change things, and also, and I've had there's a couple coaches that I know personally that were high school coaches that were on that staff, and they were like, at that point, it was just, we were looking at the computer, 5-star, we got him, let's go get him. We weren't truly looking and seeing, okay, is this a guy that's coming in as a freshman as a 5-star and he'll never go higher? Or he'll just always be at that level, which is a really good level, but you're not getting that growth. And then the worst thing is Texas started losing the offensive and defensive linemen. And I don't give a crap about quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, safeties, corners, all that. If you can't get depth in college at your lines, you will struggle, period.
That's the house. That's the foundation of a really good football team. If you can have a great offensive line to protect the quarterback and run the ball, and a great defensive line to rush the passer and stop the run. If you don't have that, then you're just mid at best.
Ooh. Boy, the wind is not gone yet.
It's been loud over here.
Yes, it's like just hitting the window over here by the studio. I can't put the actual clip because we would get copyrighted. We would get copyrighted on an ad read, so it would probably be all sorts of weird. But I just want to say, mustard, as we got to talk about my favorite hot dog in Dallas, Fort Worth, and that L-Dog Gourmet Dog. Right now, the OWT Dog Combo is the combo of the month. We'll change that next show, but it can't get any more Texas than it is. It's an off-beef dog with homemade chili, with mustard, cheese, and then on top of that, for that extra crunch, you throw in some Fritos. Now, you know me. You know how much I love hot dogs, but you also know I have been a proponent of putting your chips on your sandwich or hot dog for years now.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a northeastern, like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania type thing, where you put your chips on your sandwich. Now, chips on the hot dog is a whole new thing. That's more like I don't know, Terry Bennett. Yeah, because I was gonna. Hey, we've known each other for 15 years. That was about to happen.
Oh my God.
But yeah, like if you split the hot dog like that, like you're showing in that photo, just put the chips right in the middle, man.
Now, so
actually, that is a great idea, because I love everything being compacted. So I would want like all my fillings right there in the middle, like my chili, chips, all that right there.
Honestly, you and I we're food conscious. We try to, we were a little bit bigger a few years ago than we are now, and we've made choices. And honestly, that's one of those ways that helps me eat less chip calories. Just take a couple, crush them up, especially Fritos. Fritos crush so well. Put fresh over, and there you go. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that one, what you're seeing right now is just a basic dog. And here's why. And I told Mr. Robinson this when I met him. Like, I love all different types of dogs. Hot dogs is one of my favorite foods. One of my favorite places to eat in New Orleans is a place where you can get like the crazy hot dogs. But first time I eat hot dog, I want to taste the hot dog, mustard, bun, and I'm telling you, dude, when I did there, it was absolutely amazing. And all the toppings are homemade. They now have chili cheese fries. I need to pull that picture. I should have pulled that picture. I will get that picture up for next show because, oh my gosh, they look amazing. As soon as you get through a little time you're going through right now with religious food eating, we are going up to Frisco, and we're going to have some of this amazing hot dog because you still haven't got to try it. All you got to do is go to 9215 John W. Elliott Drive. That's the Frisco Farmers Market, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday and Sundays. Also, starting April 1st, they're going to be at 101 East Park Boulevard. Starting April 1st, every week they're going to be there. We'll be talking a little bit more about them here in a minute. But I do want to talk one thing that this is going to shock you. Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down. I can't wait to hear it.
Today,
March 4th, 2025,
the Dallas Cowboys made two good moves. We'll talk about the first one being restructuring CeeDee Lamb's contract. We knew that was coming. They free up $20 million. He is young enough, and barring anything terrible, you're going to be able to punt this contract almost into a next contract. And that's exactly what they'll do. So this is actually one of those that it took them too long, but this is a good move for them. They're going to be able to do that, but also they were proactive. Now, you and I talked a little bit about this, like, is it true money worth? Is it also partly because of, the defensive tackle market and the free agency, and even in the drafts a little load? But end of the day, you kind of talked me into this one. I think this is a good move here.
So with Osa Odigizua, he's young. I think he was drafted in 2021. So he did his 4-year contract. He was up for a contract renewal. The market said he was valued at $25 million. So if they franchise tagged him, which is you sign him to a 1-year deal, and it's for the top 5 salary of your position. So Odigizua plays defensive tackle, and the top 5 salary would be $25 million.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, and as of yesterday, he was the 2nd-rated defensive tackle in the free agent market behind Milton Williams of the Eagles. For those that watched the Super Bowl, you saw how disruptive he was in that game. Patrick Mahomes surely knows his name. But anyway, having said that, 2nd-rated defensive tackle in the free agent market. He was going to get a 1-year, $25 million salary this year as a franchise tag, but they decided, you know what? Let's give you 4 years, $80 million, which is $20 million a year if you do the math. I like that deal. I think almost $60 million of it is guaranteed. I like Odigizua. I think they're paying him more on potential because he's been improving every year. He's a reliable guy. He doesn't miss games, which is kind of important. And I think going into the later part of the 20s, his 20-year, like he's 25, 26 right now. So when he finishes out this contract, he'll be close to 30. This will probably be his best years. He's an undersized defensive tackle, but we got a new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, Matt Eberflus. My theory is Eberflus really likes him, and Eberflus wants to keep him. And so the Cowboys are like, okay, let's invest in him, like you mentioned with Tyron Crawford earlier in our group chat. Well, group, I mean, you and me.
In the ghost in our head.
Yeah, in the ghost in our head. Paying Crawford what they paid him back in the day. He was a former Cowboy defensive tackle / defensive end. It was a nice contract, but it was kind of they kind of gave him a long contract early on, and he kind of played sort of up to that contract. He didn't really exceed it at all. Maybe he was just kind of the same guy he was when he signed that contract, but I think what the Jones family is doing, I think they're just investing in what they think is going to be a guy that's going to exceed that contract. That's just my thoughts.
I still contend that there was a part of Jerry Jones and Steven of we're purposely not tanking this year, but we're not going to give Mike McCarthy much, and he's going to hang himself. And then the dude almost unhung himself. And then, to be fair, it sounds like he actually did. And they were like, he was like, you know what? No, I'm good. And I think part of it was they left him hanging for a year. Like, I think a lot of it had to do with that. And that's why he wanted more years.
Hey, the front office did not do a good job of squashing those rumors that, hey, we're just fed up with this guy. He's a lame duck head coach. This is his last year. They really didn't do him any favors, and so he was just kind of sitting there moping, letting his gray beard grow even more. And
I'm sad he's gone. I will admit that, and I am actually really on board with Shoddy now. I'm only why does that bother you, Marty? Was Marty?
I don't know this Terry. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Brian Ball. I'm fine with Brian Ball. No, actually, just who he hired. He hired a really good staff. We can talk. Is he worth it, or does he deserve it? He's never really been a true play caller. All those things. But when Pete Carroll goes to bat for you, I think it's impressive. When Mike McCarthy, who you basically just took his job, still goes to bat for you and says, yeah, this is just because he hasn't done this or done that doesn't mean, let's all remember one thing. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach.
Yeah, it was a special teams coach, I think, for the Eagles. And then in 2008, the Ravens hired him to be their head coach. So,
literally brought him in to do one of those. We're going to interview him now as a head coach, and then when we say no, we're going to go, hey, you want to be our special teams coach? And he blew the interview out the door. And to be fair, we were just talking about a guy in Patrice who's been an offensive and defensive coordinator in the league. And what did that get you? And that's one of the things all of us, and look, I get it. We have our hot sports talks on here, but you and I, and hey, if this bores people, okay. But I mean, every time we do a damn show, we get 8 to 9 to 10,000 people. So I think we're doing something right. But you and I have always been like, we're not just going to say shit to say it. Like, I'm not going to proclaim that Brian Schottenheimer is winning Super Bowls just because it'll get us views. But I will say, I think we might look back in a few years and be like, okay, that wasn't that bad of a hire. Like, he actually does know what he's doing.
I will be the first to be happy that I'm wrong. I think for me,
if the Cowboys win a Super Bowl, will intern Noe, under Brian, will intern Noe the pro get a shoddy tattoo?
No, I won't get a tattoo. I don't have a tattoo. I don't think I will get a tattoo.
I'll
get something else, but I won't do a tattoo.
I'll get it for you because I wanted to say shoddy bang bang. What the hang? Jason Terry got a tattoo before, and I still contend. Love you, Jordan. Love you, Kobe, Magic, all you great NBA players. But Jason Terry's the one that put the penis on the table and said, "Let's get this trophy." You think the tattoo guy was like, "Oh, did you get traded from Dallas?" No, man, we're gonna win. Oh. You got CTE. How do you have CTE? You play basketball. No, but no, I really do. I like the hires that he's made as a coach. And it feels like Dallas is back to where they were in 2021, 2022, 2023, where, yes, we can talk about them not getting past the second round. That's fine. But the roster moves they've made were all really, really good, low-key, not paying top dollar, getting Brandon Cooks in a trade, getting Gilmore in a trade, who I contend, man, if they would have at least made the NFC title game, I think people would realize how good Stephon Gilmore was that year, basically having to become a starter because of injuries and in all that stuff. It feels like Dallas is at least back there. The problem is you've now got to possibly go through Washington and Philadelphia. I still think we got to see with Washington. They still have a lot of one-year wonder on them because that roster, and I made a mistake the other day thinking that I'm like, oh, this roster's young. They're one of the youngest rosters in the league. No, they're not. They're right in the middle, which, to be fair, there's not much difference between the top and the bottom, but they're still not as young and talented as I think people think. I think it's a lot of, Jaden Daniels, and then a lot of other things went really, really right for them last year.
Yeah, when you said 1 year, you're more spot on than you thought because there's a lot of 1 year rentals that are going to be free agents this year. But having said that, man, they got Deebo Samuel for a 5th round pick from the 49ers. I'm really pissed off that Washington was able to do that because I really feel Dallas could have done that. And, having said that, there's a lot of talk about Deebo. He can't get on the field. He's too fat. Yeah, but I'm telling you, that dude's 28, 29 years old. He is a Swiss Army knife. He's a jack.
No, he is. But
I'm telling you right now, not being the number one option is going to make Deebo a very great player for that team. And I really think Washington could be more lethal.
Isn't he really the number one option?
Terry McLaurin, scary Terry, buddy.
Scary Terry is great when he's not the number one because you can use him as the Tyreek Hill speed, go over the top, and he'll still make some tough catches inside. I still contend Scary Terry would be a better 1B than a 1A. I like Deebo Samuel. I have tried to say, and I think it might not happen simply because we're realizing that these guys get wore down. I still contend that we're on a path that where wide receivers do more running things. But again, Saquon Barkley, who, by the way, the Eagles re-signed in the middle. They become, I think, the first team to sign and then re-sign a guy in the same technical calendar year.
First running back to make $20 million a year.
first running back to make 20 million a year. We now go, I think, dude, did we not call this 2 years ago when everybody says the running position was dead and we were saying safeties are going to back up and then you're going to be forced to run? That's why I'm not now. Okay, I'm okay if Dallas takes a running back in the first round. I'm okay with that because I do think you can go back to winning. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts, wonderful Super Bowl, deserves the MVP. But for the majority of the year, Jalen Hurts looked like a very average to okay to the biggest thing he had for about 9 weeks was how great he runs. And so I think Philadelphia showed you can still win with a running back as that's our guy.
Yeah, and hey, Philadelphia did a great job. As much as I hate to say it, they drafted well. They got a lot of defensive talent. They just released Darius Slay, a 34-year-old, 6-time Pro Bowl cornerback, and they're fine because they got Kenyon Mitchell, who they drafted this past season. They got Cooper DeJean, who drafted. And now the biggest question they have is, do they move Cooper DeJean outside or keep him at nickel? Because he's great at nickel, but with Slay gone, then need someone to replace him. Do they get someone else in the draft? Keep Cooper where he's at?
Well, and there are reports though that Slay could come back on a smaller deal,
which he might want to do that because Philadelphia now is a team that, if other teams don't know how to stop them, they could go back to back and possibly three-peat, which would be my personal nightmare, my personal hell.
They can three-peat. I think that I think in that Super Bowl,
Philadelphia did a great job. They had the right defensive coordinator. They had the right defensive line. Kansas City had the wrong offensive line.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was about to say.
They had a future Hall of Fame guard moved out to tackle at a necessity because they just did not have tackles at all. And
they got a little hubris with their "we can win without them."
Because they just kept winning. They kept winning. They only lost one game where they had their starters from the beginning to the end.
And
the whole season.
And I still look at that Rams game, and it's funny to say the Rams gave them the toughest game of the playoffs, and I mean they're the sack of Matt Stafford. So you and I, we love the things people forget. One of the things that people forget about the 1981 catch game. Dwight Clark, beautiful play, all that, is that with 50 seconds left, Danny White hits Drew Pearson over the middle, and technically it would be, I don't know if it's quite a horse collar, but it had been really debatable with how the rules are now. But a finger tackle by Eric Wright, or at the worst, the Cowboys are in field goal position and possibly he scores. And so everything changes about that game. So the Matt Stafford on second down on that drive, he goes back to pass and he's got two wide open guys, but the pressure, again, just like against Kansas City, the pressure gets to him and he loses I think it was third down and he gets sacked. And so I don't think people understand how close that Rams team was to beating Philadelphia in the snow.
Philadelphia, in that pass rush you're talking about, they have, like I said, Milton Williams. They have Josh Sweat as free agents. So, and really anything can happen with this team. They might get a lot of those guys back. But just to go back to the 81 Cowboys, that is a forgotten moment. That is a forgotten team. That is something. I'm glad you brought it up too, because I really didn't know it until a few years ago when you brought it up to me. I always knew about that 81 championship game as the catch.
Yeah.
I didn't know what happened on the next drive. So,
yep. I can easily see the Eagles letting Milton walk and then bringing back Hargraves, who flamed out in the Niners.
Yeah, so Javon Hargrave, he was a standout for the Eagles in 2022 when they made it to the Super Bowl. He was the guy that was just getting in that backfield in an NFC title game against the 49ers. It was so good that the 49ers wanted to sign him the next year to a fat contract.
And he just didn't fit. It wasn't, he had some injuries, but also I just don't think he fit there, if that makes sense. And that's why you and I was talking about, it's not just about how good you are. It's about, do you fit that system? And that's why you'll see a guy that'll go somewhere, struggle, and then come back to where he was great, and he's great again. And then
think about Zach Bond. Eagles linebacker, all pro this year. He was in New Orleans for years as a special teamer. Kind of was just He comes to Philadelphia.
You know who he feels like? And if you ever listen to this show, sir, please know I don't mean this in a bad way. But he's the Robert Jones of that defense.
Wow.
Everything funneled to him. And Robert Jones did his job, did it perfectly fine. But Robert Jones should not have been the starting linebacker for 3 Super Bowl teams, but he will be. I mean, that's just, I think he was on all 3. For some reason, I always think he comes. The 2 biggest things I always forget about those teams is he was there from the very beginning, 92. And a lot of the guys like Brock Marion, I thought left earlier. They really didn't. They stayed through all of those. And so, again, I will always contend that it may be like the best dynasty, but also the worst dynasty. We can talk.
It's funny because he was on the 92 to 95 Cowboys. He got his 3 Super Bowls. Then he went to the Rams for a couple of years, but he was also on the Dolphins team in the late 90s. So, again, Jimmy Johnson remembered this guy. He wanted to get him, so he got him. Yeah, man, he got 3 Super Bowls.
And he went back to Dallas.
Let me see here. I don't think he did.
Dallas.
I mean, he might have. I'm just looking at Wikipedia, to be honest with you. So, East Carolina unanimous All-American in '91. Okay.
Oh, that's funny. That's where Robert Jones was. I used to love watching East Carolina back then. That's when I had Jeff Blake, and they were like one of those teams that was like crazy, like, you know, for that era, throwing the ball, throwing it all around.
The prettiest deep ball ever, Jeff Blake.
Oh yeah, well that's a discussion we'll have to have for many, many years, because I still contend that was so pretty. I do want to finish out this part of the segment. Want to remind everybody, we do have an Outdrank the Coverage code, $5 off at L-Dogs. All you got to do is use L-Dogs91, located Tuesday through Thursday, 4 to 8 p.m. at the Cook Line Kitchen in Plano, Suite 2000. You can DoorDash or pick up. You can use the code on that, or you can just straight go to ldogsgourmethotdog.com. And again, please, we'll change it next show, but for one more cycle, the Outdrank the Coverage dog of the month is the OWT combo. That's as Texas as it can be. All beef, homemade chili, mustard, cheese, and Fritos. You get the combo $3 off every Saturday and Sunday at the Farmers Market, 9215 John W. Elliott Drive. All right. We're getting kind of in that time. We've talked a lot, and there's just not a ton going on. I mean, there's little things. Matt Stafford reworked his contract. T. Higgins was officially tagged, and not in that fun way. I'm trying to think if there was a couple other big things. You mentioned the Darius Slay one. We're getting into that part of football where, to me, this is almost as fun as regular season football. I got really off of the draft for a while and free agent stuff, but now, because we're trying to dedicate it more, I thought I would struggle more with it. But I gotta admit, I'm loving the free agencies and looking at all the team needs and who's going to do what. And Sam Darnold, the Minnesota Vikings announced today they are not tagging Darnold. Now, they said that doesn't mean they're not open to a deal, but I think we all feel like they want. Look, I love what Sam Darnold does. I think Sam Darnold can be a good quarterback, but J.J. McCarthy getting hurt is why Sam Darnold had the year he had last year.
It was, but the Vikings realized that he's really good, and he's only 28. And if Darisaw didn't get hurt during the season, they might have won their first round matchup and might have gotten even further than that. And so they improved their offensive line. Who knows what's going to happen? They have an excellent defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. There's a lot of potential there in Minnesota. I'm not saying it's going to be the 98 Vikings, but I'm saying that they have a lot of really good talent, both young and experienced.
I really want Aaron Rodgers to complete the Brett Favre loop.
I do too. And Devontae Adams just got released by the Jets too. So let's just go ahead and just move him over there too. Have Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison.
Holy crap.
With TJ Hawkinson at tight end. And who cares who's at running back? And have Aaron Rodgers back there just slinging it with a healthy Christian Darisaw at tackle.
Didn't they have a good running back though?
Aaron Jones.
Oh yeah, frick Aaron Jones, and he stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Um,
Shocking.
I think Devontae Adams either goes completely his own, or he ends up back with Carr. I didn't feel like.
So it depends on how he views Kellen Moore, who's the new head coach for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, if Derek Carr stays there.
I assume he'll stay there at least this year.
No, I mean his contract's up. He's not up. I'm sorry. It's expected that the Saints are going to ask him to take a contract cut, and he's not going to. He literally said, now maybe the whole, like you said, maybe getting him back, Kellen Moore and all that, it changes things. But I kind of just feel like Derek Carr.
It depends on what Carr really wants. Does he want the money, or does he want a chance to win a Super Bowl? And does he feel the Saints are going to add pieces around him that will give him an opportunity to win the Super Bowl? They're going to automatically be much. Well, I was going to say they'll make them be better next year because they're going to have a healthy Chris Olave. They're going to have a healthy Rashid Shaheed, and they have a new coach.
Kamara had a really underrated season. Taysom Hill, but Taysom Hill's. He's what, 31, 32? I still don't understand how he continued. Tebow, this is what you could have been, dude. You could have been a folk hero if you'd have just been like, no, I will do everything else and play quarterback at times. I think Kellen Moore is going to be a good head coach.
Taysom Hill will be 35 in August.
Yeah, I thought he was even on sick because I mean he was beating Texas 20 years ago with bad knees, ran back-to-back. I'm not kidding. Ran back-to-back years against them with like 200 yards on the ground from a dude that's like running like that. You see that white guy break open in a game and all of a sudden he has that extra kick because that's all. He doesn't know anything else. He's just, this will help. He was doing that and outrunning everybody. I think Kellen Moore is going to be a really good coach. I think New Orleans is in a situation where they are going to give him a lot of patience as long as he doesn't, just completely flame out. But I also think the Saints are about to be in a pretty deep rebuild. You've got to cut some moments now and start. You hire Kellen Moore saying, look, we're going to cut this, but we're going to give you the 5 years. You're going to get all, as long as you just don't completely just shit the bed, you're going to get the time, and we're going to, more importantly, let you rebuild this team. And dear God, Kellen Moore is about to Sean Payton it. It just hit me because people don't remember Sean Payton was so bad, and I don't even really think he was that bad, but by the fans, he was booed out of Dallas. Jim Fossil took his play calling abilities away from him in a year that they went to the friggin' Super Bowl. So it's not like when Sean Payton, ended up in New Orleans, like, oh, that's going to be, that's awesome. That's great. But he married the right person with the right quarterback. And I just realized now Kellen Moore is going to do that. He's going to pick Will Howard or somebody like that. Quinn Ewers. Actually, shit, dude, Quinn Ewers would be perfect in the Kellen Moore system. And they're going to let him rebuild, and he's going to slow cook. And in 6 years, after Shoddy's won 2 Super Bowls, Kellen Moore will finally get his first Super Bowl.
Please stop.
Shoddy. Wait, that's not what I meant.
That doesn't look good.
Oh, hey, speaking of don't look good, your butt. Also, a legend retired from like his third career, as Jimmy Johnson announced that he will not be coming back. And by the way, good on you, Jimmy. I love Lee Corso, but it's time for Lee Corso to kind of hang it up. And Jimmy didn't mention Lee by name, but he basically was like, I've reached the point where I don't follow, I don't.
You need to look at the messages.
We're getting.
I think we're getting spammed.
Oh, we are. Oh, no, that's Frank.
Well, there's a guy named Frank D. Tank.
Yeah, he's
I assume this is a gentleman of male persuasion. He says Terry Bennett supports arranged marriages.
I do, Frank to Frank. But what were we talking about?
We're talking about Jimmy Johnson.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Johnson retired. But he basically said, I don't have that energy and desire to be plugged into the NFL like I used to be. I don't think people understand, they basically fly. I think now it's out to LA. At one time it was to New York, but they basically fly out there like on Friday night and or Saturday, do the show Sunday, and then go back. He's been living in the Keys in Florida forever, and that's got to wear you down. Like, that's just every week you've got to travel and everything. But I will say this: I don't care for pregame and postgame shows anymore. But I will say, the Fox one from when they started, Kirk Menefee, who had a radio show here in Dallas for a long time, he was the Channel 11 sports anchor. His show, I really hope one day he hears this because this is a true story. His show got so many bad callers or no callers that I called in once and made a really good point, and they were like, "Could you call back next tomorrow? But say your name's, don't say it's Terry, say something else." And I was like, "Yeah." And so I did that for like 6 months. Never met him or anything. And then he ended up on the ticket. And of course, we all know in Dallas and what the ticket has done just to sports radio. We talk like we do because of the ticket. We have a show where we can say sports, food, movies, and booze because the ticket was that first station that really kind of did the whole guy talk without it just going into titties and boobs and everything. Mario Scott said Lee Corso and Terry Bradshaw need to retire. I agree. Both of them. Who is the next? Who do you think? Because Jason Garrett's entrenched at NBC. He ain't going anywhere. And he's actually perfectly fine. I mean, him and what's his name from the Colts? Head coach. Colts. Buccaneers.
Dungy.
Yeah, Dungy. They're like, who's the most boring when they talk, and that works for some reason for NBC. But who's the next big people at Fox? Because I mean, even Strahan, Strahan's been pulling away and doing more other stuff. Howie Long's the one that feels like he's still got the same capabilities and abilities as he did now as he did when he started back in '96.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have been there for so long. Jimmy Johnson, Howie Long, Bradshaw. And then more recently, Michael Strahan, but they're going to have they're basically like the New Orleans Saints in that sense, where they've had a lot of long-standing guys. Now they're getting a little old there, and there needs to be a succession plan, but they don't really have one. It seems so.
But are we also getting closer to an era where you don't really have a pre-game, post-game because you don't have to? Like you can get, there's a
you and I don't really watch pre-game shows or post-game shows anymore. I did as a kid because I loved NFL Primetime and NFL Countdown. NFL Countdown was a pre-game, NFL Primetime, Tom Jackson, Chris Berman. Mwah. It was great.
No, they were great, but unless you so in the mid '90s, I first time I moved to Dallas, I had Dallas Morning News. I had Sporting News. I had Sports Illustrated. Those were three very well-known sports. Dallas Morning News, one of the best sports departments ever, and still great, but especially back then. I had all that, but still, you needed to watch Primetime and Countdown and all that to know the players. And then we all have, if you're within our age group, if you're 55 to 35. Inside the NFL, yes. Inside the NFL. Also the one with Ron Jaworski and then Merrill Hodge breaking down film. That was my favorite. That was my show because I knew football from playing and I knew football but that's the show I truly learned like what 3-4 was to a 4-3 because Ron Jaworski would go so in depth on this one play and talk about this. I'm just using the Chargers. Here's Junior Seau. He's playing on this. He's got the A gap, but watch how he bails out to the right because he's going to hit the C gap, fooling the guard. He went real intense on it.
And Frank's talking about Nick Bunacondi and Len Donson.
Yeah, that's the old Inside the NFL. That nice. Was fun because they were very much like, what was that Eagle that hated Deion Sanders? He played both ways back in the 60s, and he was always mad that because I played it different than Sanders. I played it physical. Well, that's what Buconti and Dawson basically turned themselves into by the end of it. Just Emmitt Smith, but Emmitt Smith back in the day, blah blah.
Nick Buconti was just like all those Dolphin defensive players from the 70s. They just wanted to get noticed and recognized. And they're just jealous that someone like Deion Sanders was the star of the team.
Oh, what was that Eagles name, dude?
I mean, there was Norman Brocklin on the 60 championship team.
No, he was a two-way player.
He went both ways.
Like that was his Chuck Bednarik.
Oh, legend. Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Yes, but he kind of got brought back into the spotlight when Deion started playing both, on both sides of the ball. And he would get so mad. I played guard and I played linebacker. I blah, blah, blah. And you're right, Frank. Dolphins from the 70s are intolerable. Hey, guess what, you Dolphins who were undefeated? You give 10 other teams that same schedule and they go undefeated that year.
Hey, you know what, though? From 70 to 74, that was the best team in the AFC.
Oh, no, the team's talented. Don't get me wrong. Everything about that team is great. I mean, when you look at, we think of an era now with 2 running backs, and they had 3, with Mercury Morris, Larry Gazonka, and Jim Kick. You had, I think in a quarterback that if he was in any other era, Brian Griese would have been way more known. In fact, I could kind of say he's like the Troy Aikman of that era, where he wasn't needed to throw it all around, but if he would have been very successful at doing it.
I mean, think about the 73 Dolphins. He threw 7 passes in the Super Bowl, and they beat the Vikings, and they destroyed them. They weren't even trying to pretend they were going to pass the ball. They had 3 running backs that could get you 1,000 yards, and they were just running it down.
Against the defense known as the Purple People Eater.
Yeah, and they had I think that was their second Super Bowl appearance, and that was probably one of their better teams. And that
was third.
They went in '69.
The Cowboys, then they went undefeated. Then they
I'm talking about Minnesota. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the Dolphins. My bad.
Yeah. Let's see what Frank's saying. He's on a roll. He must have had a couple of alcoholic beverages tonight, because he's just messaging. I think college football has more dynamic shows and hosts, just more energy. I think I kind of agree with Frank there. Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't really watch much of the pregame shows.
I don't need to watch them. I can go look at everything I want all week on YouTube, on the 75,000 internet pages that are all now basically connected as one. And I can read everything. So when it comes to the day of, I don't need to watch that. And I don't mean that as a knock. It's the same thing. And I know the group that is in our chat, they're not going to believe this, but the people that say, oh, well, ESPN went bad because it went woke. No, ESPN went bad because we don't need a Sports Center show to watch the highlights that I want to have. You and I will be watching the Stars. Stars will make a great, and the NHL is really bad about allowing people to show their videos. NFL is great, but even NHL, there'll be a great goal that I'm watching. I can literally 5 minutes clip it, send it to you, and be like, hey, I just saw this. Sports Center was awesome back in the day, and I still remember this day. I got to go up there and tour Bristol as part of when I was really deciding if I wanted to do this. And we all remember oh my God, Sports Center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It was just a repeat of the, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. It was so awesome. Do you know that those numbers back then were so bad? Like at times they were getting 20,000 people watching. They were always wanting to replace it. But we're that nostalgia. The one thing the internet taught me in 1997, the first time I logged on, anything that I thought I only knew, there's at least 100,000 other people that are like, oh yeah, I remember them too. And that's what we all have that nostalgia of the sports, center running from 9 a.m. to 1. I did it. It was on in the background. But guess what? It was on in the background. I wasn't like locked in onto it or anything.
Yeah, Frank also makes a good point. Short videos are the thing.
Except for RedTube. I need a story.
We're not talking any more about Red 2 on this podcast.
I'm just saying, if you don't have a plot, I don't want to play with your plot.
In all seriousness, sir, I did not know you went to Bristol, Connecticut. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, a long time ago, dude. Biggest.
Was it with your dad on he was going on a trip?
No, this was my. So when I went back to college, I wanted to coach. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to coach, but I had done theater at the junior college I'd went to, and I was really good at it. Won awards and all that. So I'm like, you know what? I want to have as my elective a radio television class. It'll be fun. It'll be just blow it off and all that. So I had never done anything broadcasting. And so first day was like, you do a stand-up interview, make everything up. And so I did that. And the guy, there was two guys that ran the department at A&M Commerce, now East Texas A&M. Dr. Sanders literally walks in and says, I don't care what your major is, you're in the media now. And I was like, okay, sure. And then about 6 months later, because I was a junior college transfer in, I was already like, almost a senior. He was like, if you want to do this, you need to go to the Ticket in Dallas. I went to the Ticket. You need to go to at the time there was a Fox Radio in Dallas. You need to go to Fox Radio, and then you need to go to Bristol. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then he's like, no, let's go. And so me and him went, my radio professor, and I spent the day in Bristol. And it turned out that there was a couple people that he knew that were, that worked inside the bowels that were from A&M Commerce. A&M Commerce at that time was known for radio, television, psychiatry, and photography. Like the lead editor of Rolling Stones or one of those from the 70s or 80s was an A&M Commerce alum. So that's what they were known for. So I got doors in back then because of that. So yeah, it wasn't that we only went up there for a day. Literally flew up, visited the campus. It's just like NASA. It's extremely smaller than you think it is. Like everything is really downsized. And then we flew back the next day.
That's amazing. I never knew this story. That's pretty cool. Like I said earlier in the podcast, we've known each other for 15 years, so it's cool that I still learn new things about you.
I still have to surprise you. I do not drive a Subaru, Frank. I'm a Jeep girl. I mean, what? What are you talking about?
Frank's calling you a turbo thespian.
Speaking of baseball, I don't know where that came from. Texas 2 seam, we will be back. We're going to start.
That was not even a good segue.
Shut up. Have you been to ESPN?
Okay, Flex. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and talk about Texas 2 seam, sir.
And gently touch your hair. Hey, we need a great sound effect when we've both outdrank the coverage that we can play. That's like, here.
It's time for the Suck What? What sucks? Well, this sucks. That sucks. Oh, the week.
Suck what?
You know what grinds my gears? That's what that sounds like. But anyway, seriously, Texas 2 seam, we're going to be talking baseball. We're doing it a little different this year. I'm about to surprise intern Noe the pro here, commissioner too. We're also going to talk some college baseball.
It always sounds like when you say that I have multiple personalities.
Yeah, you're like James McAvoy.
Yeah.
In Split.
All right, go ahead. Tell me about Texas 2 seam. What's going on with that?
Well, we're going to talk the Rangers and Astros and Major League, but we're also the week of the state championship games for high school baseball. We're going to have some of that as far as the Texas 2 seam, talking to coaches, people there, thoughts on the game. Probably do the same thing with some of the college baseball stuff. I'm trying to get more back into baseball because when I first started broadcasting, I wanted to do play-by-play of baseball and football, and I did that for 10 years and then, decided to retire from that and go more into this side of it. But I'd like to get into talking more baseball and, outside of the Astro fan base, we have a really good fan base here in Texas that, don't try to do, trash cans and cheating and all that fun stuff. So, we'll see if we talk about the Astros. No, I'm kidding. We'll talk about the Astro. I think the West is going to be really fun this year because I think everybody can see the Rangers, the Astros, or the Mariners winning 95 games or losing or only winning 70 games. The gap is that big. I think the West is not going to be as pretty again as the East, but I think there's going to be really good baseball inside the AL West this year.
And I think the one team that's going to surprise, well, I don't think they're really going to surprise anybody, but the Oakland Athletics, they're a few years away from moving to Vegas, and they improved a lot this past season in 2024. I think they almost won 70 games. They're a team that's going to start scaring some people come 2027 when they finally move to Vegas. I think these next 3 seasons they're going to be, I think, in Sacramento. But yeah, the Athletics, they're going to be a team that's going to vulture some wins from the Rangers, from the Mariners, from the Astros.
I still think they're going to do the Houston thing over the next until they get into Vegas. I think you're going to see them 60 wins, getting first or second or third picks, really rebuilding that farm system. And I still think when they go to Vegas, they're going to still try to be more like what Tampa Bay does, where they're going to churn the roster, but they're going to try to get better at keeping key guys, like shortstops that date 12-year-olds and things like that, Speaking of, that's one of those big what ifs that it felt like that Tampa team was finally about to break through, and then things have fallen apart. But I do think talent-wise they're way better. But I think them being in Sacramento, and I think them going like, hey, we're still wanting to rebuild. We want to get some first-round picks. But are they going to sign them? I mean, that's the thing with this ownership. Are they now going to start spending money? Which then kind of shows the hypocrisy of, okay, why weren't you spending that money in Oakland?
Yeah, I mean, I think they wanted a new stadium, but they had some really talented teams. They just never wanted to spend money. They found a great GM that knew how to get you out of the regular season into the postseason, but the postseason is a whole different beast, as a lot of teams know. Even the Dodgers, who just won the World Series, they had to retool their roster with stars to turn them into a more of a depth team. That's what most of these other teams need to start realizing.
Dude, the Dodgers are like, and I know you don't play it anymore, but like if you play college football 25 and you're in year 10 as a head coach and you've won national championships and you've been good, it's just literally like, I just want all the 5 stars. Everybody else, y'all go to hell. All 5 stars come over here, and they're all like, let's go. That's what the Dodgers feel like now. I still contend that the Dodgers will not win the World Series. Frank says, what about the TV deal? Did the commission doom baseball without ESPN? No. ESPN is not what ESPN used to be. And ESPN, well, okay, college football time, ESPN is still ESPN. College basketball time at certain points, yes. But to me, as a baseball fan, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, and then really once they got rid of Baseball Tonight full time, they stopped being baseball. I actually think this is a brilliant move by him. You can now do what they should do and have Major League Baseball own all the regional networks. And everything goes to, so when you actually buy the league pass now, you're not getting blacked out because you're like, hey, what's your team? You can watch them like the NFL does. NFL Direct, what is your team? You can watch them if you pay. I think that's where the MLB network is going to go.
That seems logical, and I think it's the best for the long-term success for Major League Baseball.
No, I love Sunday Night Baseball, Frank. Again, nostalgia. Not growing up, but Joe Miller or John Miller and Joe Morgan, who it's crazy to think they did not like each other.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, dude. Wow. Oh yeah, that's like, we worked together. Same thing with Ralph Strangis and
Razor.
Yeah, Razor Ray. They didn't hate each other, but they weren't friends. They came in, they did their job, and they left.
That's crazy. Because you think of the chemistry. Because it reminds me of I Love Lucy, Fred Mertz and Ethel.
They hated. They hated each other so bad that when he died, she paid for drinks at the hotel she was at. Like,
That's
even
terrible.
in the moment, like, of, you know, there's people that I have not liked in my life that I feel did me wrong, all that. And when they passed, I still was like, okay, that sucks. You know, no, I'm buying drinks for everybody. Let's have drinks. This is why this show works so good. We can talk about all these honkies with bad arguments. Oh, wait, I guess Joe Morgan wouldn't. Joe Morgan was a little crudgety, though. Like, it's funny because John Miller was older, but John Miller always felt like the cool dude. Morgan was great at, like, describing the game and all that. But my God, he was one of those baseball assholes. Back when we played, we would slide with our spikes up.
And we would also bet on the game.
In the middle of it, me and Pete Rose, we'd have a $5.
who now might actually be eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Actually, look, I'm fine. I've said this before. If he gets in, I'm perfectly fine with it. I think the idea that people say, well, he's not in the Hall. Every one of his accomplishments are in the Hall. Frank says they all became crudgety. Joe was always like that, though. Again, that was kind of part of what played really well with Morgan and Miller. Was Miller kind of would dig him, and Morgan took it well, at least on the air, you know, and all that. Dude, Frank, okay.
Keith Jackson.
I love Keith Jackson, but go back and listen or watch Texas versus USC, and he is terrible. Just on the very iconic 4th down play, and they hand off to Lindell White, and he says, he got it. I mean, he didn't get it. He has the ball. I mean, he totally messed up it's one of the, you know, most classic plays of college football. And then also, didn't he like say some weird shit? I think he went a little weird at the end too. That'd be
Most old white guys usually do it, and you got about 20, 30 years before you do it too, so it's fine.
I looking up the this stuff today. I totally forgot the whole Kurt Angle "you suck chant.
Oh yeah.
The coolest story about that, he's the one that went to Vince and said, "This is what they need to do." I love wrestlers that don't have an ego.
Yeah, Kurt Angle, man.
Musburger did the weird thing with the quarterback's wife from Alabama or girlfriend from Alabama. Keith Jackson.
AJ McCarron.
Yeah. Keith Jackson said some stuff off there, and it wasn't like super bad. It was just outdated thinking. You know, it was something like that. Now we all remember the Musburger. Hey, Marv Albert wore pantyhose and got bit by women, and he survived that. So explain to me why Deshaun Watson can't be a quarterback in the league anymore.
Don't. Do not. There's a reason.
But no, do you remember that, though, about Marv Albert?
No, I didn't know that about Marv Albert.
Yeah, he was in a suit, like a lawsuit where he was like, hang on, I'm trying to see something here. Yeah, he was basically accused of being too rough in the bed and that he wore pantyhose. And I kind of want to see that now. Just him in pantyhose going, from downtown.
Ewing, yes.
Yes. That Ewing takes on a whole new meaning. Dude, this show went off the rails quick.
Yeah, I don't know what your problem is, man. I'm the straight-laced person of this group.
It's all the milk I've been drinking tonight. Oh man, Keith Jackson's been dead since 2018.
Oh wow.
You know, it's crazy. I made you watch this movie a long time ago. It's not a terrible movie because it tells the story, but the football action is so bad, and that's the Monday Night Football movie from TNT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they had Keith Jackson. And people forget Keith Jackson was the first guy that played or was the play-by-play for Monday Night Football, and it didn't work. I got to look for that trailer because this is the I still watch this. I might have actually bought this movie, but I got to see this. Hang on. We're going to finish. We'll finish the show with this. Oh, come on. No. Where's the money? Was it 2002? I think it was. Oh, there's Brett Favre. Oh, yeah. Dang, I'll have to find it for the next one. But you remember it was like some of the worst football, like number 5 for Dallas was like the leading receiver or some weird crap. Anyway, you got anything else to say? I think we're kind of done.
Yeah. How many viewers do we have tonight?
We are now at 1,000. At one point, we had 9,000.
Nice. I'm glad we're still getting some consistent views each week.
I'm assuming the 1,000 passed out.
Probably, and they just kept their laptop on. Hey, no worries. Glad you drank with us.
Yes, because it makes us feel like less alcoholics.
Yeah. It's good to just talk about random stuff. Usually we have like a regimen where we talk week to week about week 17, week 18, conference championship. So it's kind of nice to just, shoot the S and just, catch up. And looking forward to free agency. Next month's draft. That's going to be huge. We'll have a better idea of how all 32 teams are going to probably fare going into the 2025 season. So looking forward to the draft show, looking forward to our analysis of the draft, and looking forward to watching some movies together and reviewing them and doing our list that we'd love to do that our viewers love to apparently watch. So, yeah.
Oh, by the way, the next show will be the day before your birthday. Our next show will be back to a Monday happy hour, though we might play around with moving around just to see. I mean, you never know. You're always told when you're creating shows is be consistent, blah, blah, blah. And you do want to be consistent. But I mean, we've now done this show on a Thursday, a Monday, a Tuesday, and we get a lot of the same numbers. So we might move around the show some, but as of now, we're still every other Monday. So the next one will be the 17th. I do have now starting officially this week. I did one episode just to kind of test out closing time. That's just where if something big happens, we might both come on, you come on, other people that work for L4 and just give their opinion of it. I was going to do one for Gene Hackman, but I was like, that's not quite, I'm not quite ready for that, but things like that, a big free agent signing for a team, even at that, we'll talk about all that. But anyway, hang on. Is this not working now?
Oh, well, 1 out of 5, dude. Don't worry about it.
What the heck? Oh, there we go. Give me a minute. Want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email us, odtcnfl@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. Go to Outdrank the Coverage. On the website, L4 Media Company. Until next time, he's intern Noe, the pro commissioner. I'm Terry, the host. This has been Outdrank the Coverage Happy Hour.
Closing.